and make it great with Lifetime Enclosures and Lifetime Flooring. They truly are the best in the business. So if you have the space and the idea, give them a call today. Lifetime Enclosures and Lifetime Flooring. Showroom just off Phillips Highway. Tell them Prosser sent you.
This is your Mad Dad's Update with Chapter President Donald Ford.
We are off the chain again. We had 5 shootings, 2 killed in a matter of hours. It was not just the north side. It was all over. Mayport, south side, west side, north side. Let you know it's not just one part of town. We know they have a sheriff race coming up. We cannot get caught up on that. We as a community have got to say enough is enough. We've got to take a stand and start breaking the code of silence and tell what we know. As always, JSO was not there when the 5 shootings occurred. Hit me on Facebook and tell me what you think.
For information about Mad Dads, go to Mad Dads Jacksonville Chapter Facebook or MadDadsJacksonville.com.
This 1010XL 92.5 FM hour is powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 904-600-4000. That's 904-600-4000. The sports world keeps spinning and the local conversation continues. Now, Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
And a very good Friday evening to you, Jacksonville. It is Hacker After Dark, 1010XL 92.5 FM with Dylan Denmark, the Hacker Ryan Green with you. Glad you are with us to close out the week. We are inside of 24 hours before preseason game number 3. Of course, the Jacksonville Jaguars will take on the Pittsburgh Steelers right here at TIAA Bank Field tomorrow. Kickoff at 7 o'clock. You'll hear the game on 1010XL. Pre-game coverage beginning around 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Expect the starters to go into the second quarter, and a lot of the starters are going to play. I think the only 2 guys that have officially been ruled out to this point are James Robinson and Devin Lloyd, so we should see a lot of the first team for the Jacksonville Jaguars. We're going to go to Pittsburgh coming up in about 45, 50 minutes or so. We're going to get the Steeler side of this game. Ray Fittipaldo of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. He's our guy up in Pittsburgh, and he will give us what the Steelers are thinking heading into their second preseason game tomorrow night. How much of Mitch Trubisky will the Jaguars see? How much of Mason Rudolph will the Jaguars see? And how much of Kenny Pickett, the Steeler first-round pick, will the Jaguars see tomorrow night? We are absolutely loaded with guests tonight. We mentioned Ray Fittipaldo of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. We're also going to talk with my man Deontay Lee of The Athletic. Love talking NFL football with Deontay Lee. He is coming up about 8:35. Jaguars, AFC South on the docket with Deontay Lee. In the 9 o'clock hour, we're going to go to South Florida. The South Florida Sun-Sentinel, Adam Lichtenstein, covers the Miami Hurricanes for the Sun-Sentinel as Mario Cristobal is 15 days away from getting his head coaching career started as a Miami Hurricane head coach. They got a big scrimmage tomorrow as Cristobal and the Canes prepare for 2022. And we'll also, in the 9 o'clock hour, talk to my friend Zig Fracassi, Sirius XM NFL Radio, Jaguars, NFL in general, the Deshaun Watson ruling. We'll discuss all of that with Zig Fracassi of Sirius XM. But as we always do on Hacker After Dark, we kick it off with a big deal of the night. And Dylan Denmark, let's do that right now.
Time now for the big deal of the night.
What's the big deal? What is the big deal?
No big deal. It is a big deal.
On Hacker After Dark.
Yeah, it's always a big deal when the Pittsburgh Steelers come into town, whether it's preseason, whether it's postseason certainly, or regular season. There'll be a good crowd tomorrow night. It'll be a good gauge for the Jacksonville Jaguars. What do we know about Pittsburgh? They're a tough, physical football team that can also throw it around a little bit. So I think the Jaguars are going to be challenged in a bunch of areas tomorrow night. Pittsburgh is a team that you thought was probably in rebuilding mode, that you thought was probably a team after Ben Roethlisberger retired. You did not know what their trajectory was going to be. I can tell you the folks up in Pittsburgh think they're going to be pretty good. Mitchell Trubisky probably going to be their starting quarterback. They really like Kenny Pickett. But look at that offense with Chase Claypool, with Deontay Johnson, with a Pat Freiermuth, a Najee Harris. They got a lot of guys on that team that can make plays. Defensively, Minkah Fitzpatrick, obviously with Cam Hayward, right? And then you got Miles Jack there, the former Jaguar, in the middle of that Steeler defense. So Pittsburgh believes they're going to be pretty good. They got to figure out some things at quarterback as far as when to get the young kid, Kenny Pickett, onto the field. And that brings me to tomorrow night. Mike Tomlin said earlier this week they want to get Kenny Pickett some more, quote, varsity action, which means expect to see Kenny Pickett early in the game tomorrow taking on the Jaguar starting defense. Speaking of that starting defense, the Jaguar starting defense was terrific last week. No complaints whatsoever. They showed up against the Cleveland Browns, and they stuffed the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland did nothing until Jacksonville's starting defense left the game, and that's when Cleveland was finally able to move the ball. You would love to see a sequel of that tomorrow night. Maybe get a little more pressure on the quarterback. Would love to see Josh Allen get in the backfield a little bit more. Would love to see another forced turnover. We saw one last week. Rayshon Jenkins, Travon Walker combine on the hit. Dearness Johnson of Cleveland fumbles the ball. Shaq Griffin right there to pounce on it. So if we have the same situation, the same outcome for the Jaguar starting defense that we had last week against Cleveland, it'll be a great night. Offensively, the Jaguars struggled a bit with the exception of their final offensive drive with the starters last week. Keep in mind, after the fumble recovery by Shaq Griffin, Jacksonville's offense went 3 and out, had to settle for a field goal. So you would love to see a more production earlier in the game tomorrow by the Jaguar starters. You would expect Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne, the starting offense, to play into the second quarter. Will we see Christian Kirk for the first time in a Jaguar uniform tomorrow night? It appears we will. We've heard nothing to the contrary. He did not play last week after rolling his ankle a bit early in last week's practices. But I would love to see Christian Kirk get out there. Have Kirk on one side, Zay Jones. Would like to see Marvin Jones do something. Marvin Jones, it's interesting. Marvin Jones was the best receiver the Jaguars had last year. The best guy. We haven't talked a whole lot about Marvin Jones. We haven't spent a lot of time about Marvin Jones. It's been a lot of the new guys. It's been Zay Jones. It's been Evan Ingram. It's been Christian Kirk. Would love to see Marvin Jones get in the mix tomorrow night a little bit as well. The offensive line. Will we know tomorrow night what the starting offensive line is going to look like in 3 weeks against Washington? We know who your left tackle is. It's Cam Robinson. We know who the center is. It's Luke Fortner. We know who the right guard is. It's Brandon Scherf. Can we figure out right tackle tomorrow night between Jawan Taylor and Walker Little? What about left guard? Is that up in the air now between Tyler Shatley and between Ben Barch? Would love to get those situations figured out sooner rather than later so we're not talking about that inside of 2 weeks before the regular season opener. So there's a lot going on tomorrow night. Tomorrow night is probably the last game action the starters will see until Washington. Keep in mind, they got joint practices next week in Atlanta. So normally, again, not always the case, but normally, when you have joint practices, you do not play a lot of your starters in the game. 2 practice days against the same team, get some good work in. That normally means you don't play in that game. Prime example of that is tonight, Carolina and New England. By the way, a lot of fights between Carolina and New England leading in to tonight's game. But Carolina and New England playing right now. New England a 7-3 lead. Carolina's not playing Baker Mayfield or Sam Darnold. They're not playing either one. Now, Mac Jones is playing for the Patriots, which is kind of interesting. Mac Jones finished 4 of 8 for 61 yards tonight. But both Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold getting the night off for Carolina. Again, they had joint practices in New England. You do see that a lot. So it's my expectation that you're not going to see the Jaguar starters against Atlanta. That's why I think tomorrow night is the final quote-unquote dress rehearsal in a game situation that you're going to see the Jaguar starters before the opener in Washington on September 11th. And I got to tell you, too, ESPN.com came out today with their position rankings. They ranked every position in the NFL: quarterback, running back, wide receiver, O-line, tight end, D-line, linebacker, DBs. They ranked them 1 to 32. Now, normally on lists like this, the Jaguars, certainly in years past, you just look towards the bottom and see where Jacksonville is. Not necessarily the case this year. At quarterback, ESPN.com has the Jacksonville Jaguars ranked 19th. 19th for Trevor Lawrence, C.J. Beathard, and the Jaguar quarterback room. Hey, 19's not great, but 19's a heck of a lot better than where Jacksonville's used to being in that position. At the running back position with Travis Etienne and James Robinson, ESPN.com has a Jaguar running back room ranked 22nd out of 32. Again, that means you're ahead of 10 teams in the NFL. A team that won 4 games in the last 2 years, based on these rankings, these analytics on ESPN, is now ahead of 10 NFL teams in the running back room. Wide receiver, the ESPN.com is not as big a believer in wide receiver as I am. They have the Jaguars 22nd in that department as well, better than 10 NFL teams. At tight end, ESPN.com likes the Jaguar tight ends, maybe more so than I do. They have them 24th with Evan Ingram and Dan Arnold. Again, better than 8 teams in the NFL. You go to the defensive side of the ball, ESPN's analytics likes the Jaguar defense too, with Trayvon Walker and Josh Allen. They have Jacksonville ranked 17th, right in the middle of the pack in the NFL, as far as getting to the quarterback with your outside edge guys. Off-ball linebacker, ESPN.com has Jacksonville 24th. They're around the 20 to 24 range on a lot of these. Overall team, overall roster, 1 to 53, based on the analytics, the Jacksonville Jaguars come into ESPN.com ranked 24th. And you know what? That beats the heck out of being 32nd or 31st or 30th, which is where Jacksonville normally is in lists like this. I'll take it. I'll take it. They're an improved team. If you're telling me the Jaguar roster is better than 8 other NFL rosters right now, how can you complain about that based on what we've seen here the last couple of years? 641-1010 is the phone number on the phone line and on the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures. Our last Hacker After Dark on a Friday night for a while. Why is that? Because next Friday night, we begin the Friday Night Lights postgame show. Year number 16 of the Friday Night Lights postgame show. Very happy to be part of it. Again, I've been a part of every one of those over the last 15 years. Andrew Gibson will join me. Dylan Denmark will join me. And we will get after it on the Friday Night Lights postgame beginning next Friday. Hacker After Dark will still air Monday through Thursday. We're not going anywhere. But the Friday edition of Hacker After Dark turns in to the Friday Night Lights postgame show, which begins 1 week from tonight. Coming up next, into the world of college football and a little anniversary for yours truly. I'll explain it next. It's 1010XL. It's 92.5 FM. It's Hacker After Dark.
The Frangie Show.
We got a nanny. So she is a nanny.
Lauren Brooks.
No. She's not a nanny.
Keeping the boys in line.
Of course she's a nanny.
Afternoons on The Frangie Show
When does the lying stop?
on 1010XL.
Here's Linda Beaver.
School's in session, and here's today's lesson. Buy any new vehicle from the comfort of your couch with virtual test drives, payment calculators, and home deliveries. Plus, every new car comes with a 20-year, 200,000-mile peace of mind warranty. That means it'll still be under warranty when you can drive. Plus, every purchase allows us to fund teachers' projects for the entire school year. Your next assignment, get to Beaver Toyota in St. Augustine or Beaver Chevrolet in Jacksonville. Your deadline is August 31st. We're here to wow you and our teachers.
Though no longer little, teens still need a lot of love. Yet teens in foster care have a harder time finding it, as 82% of foster families are home to kids 12 or younger. You can positively impact a teen's life as a foster parent. With help from Family Support Services of North Florida, you provide patience, love, and understanding, and Family Support Services will offer specialized training, resources, and a community of support. Take the next step at foster-now.org. That's foster-now.org.
My milkshake brings all the boys to the yard, and they're like, it's better than yours.
Spilled your milkshake? Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up spills quicker. And each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less than the leading Ordinary brand. So you can get back to your milkshake.
My milkshake brings all the boys to the yard, and they're like, it's better than yours.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
With your home value up again, you are sitting on a pile of money. Don't just let it sit there. Use it. Hey, it's Prosser here for my friends at Loan Pronto. Introducing Loan Pronto's Equity Line of Credit program. You don't have to refinance, but you can access up to 97% of your home's value. Get cash now to pay off all your credit cards, or do that home improvement project. Get your down payment for a new home, or stash away for a safety net. You can get $50,000, even $100,000 or more out of your home, and the payments are crazy low. Think what you can do with $100,000 right now. Loan Pronto makes unlocking your equity easy, and they can probably even waive the appraisal fee. Don't let all the home equity pile up. Turn your house into an ATM machine and get the cash you need. Call Loan Pronto now, 904-999-1508. That's 904-999-1508. You can also reach Loan Pronto at loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
Are you looking for increased privacy and protection for your family and pets? Look no further than Superior Fence and Rail. Superior Fence and Rail is Jacksonville's top-rated fence company, delivering the highest quality fence products. They'll treat your property as if it's their own. So get off the fence and get your privacy back. Call Superior Fence and Rail today for your on-site estimate.
When you're on the fence about a fence, SuperiorFenceandRail.com.
Goo Goo Dolls Summer Tour. Don't miss this incredible night with all the hits. August 24th, Daly's Place. With special guest Blue October. On sale now at Ticketmaster.com. Goo Goo Dolls Live.
This is Brandon with North Florida Epoxy Floors. Our product gives you a custom high-quality appearance and the longest-lasting finish at a more affordable price. So for your garage, home, or business, research the difference between 100% solids epoxy and the products like polyurea, which can be kinda fishy. Our epoxy includes a moisture vapor barrier, essential in Florida, so your North Florida epoxy floor looks great and is warranted with no fine print. Get a free estimate at NorthFloridaEpoxyFloors.com.
Nick in here for Zero Res. I hope you Googans are having a fantastic summer just like me. We got to see Big Bo in Canton. Life can't get any better than that. Now that the kids are back at school, you can see the beating your house is taking. Carpets, tile, grout, area rugs, and even the sofa needs some cleaning. If your home needs some cleaning, give Zero Res a call right now. Get 50% off tile and grout ceiling. Zero Res, man. Spell it forwards or backwards. Zero Res is the right way to clean.
CEROREZ. Zero Res.
There's still time to purchase your tickets for the Summer Nights presented by 1-2-1 Financial. Enjoy an evening affair benefiting Boys and Girls Club of Northeast Florida as you enjoy delicious foods from local restaurants like Orsay, craft cocktails, fine wine, and craft beer while dancing to live music from the Bold City Classics. Summer Nights will be held Saturday, August 27th at the Glass Factory. Purchase your tickets at tinyurl.com/1010 Summer Nights.
What up? Mia O'Brien, your second favorite media mogul here. Catch me weekdays on XL Primetime from 12 to 3 and Tuesday nights on Helmets and Heels. Plus, be sure to check out my quick hits driven by Arlington Toyota on the 1010XL video and social media channels.
This 1010XL 92.5 FM hour is powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 904-600-4000. That's 904-600-4000. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Glad you're with us. Friday night edition of Hacker After Dark, 1010XL, 92.5 FM. Coming up in less than 15 minutes, Deontay Lee, national NFL writer for The Athletic. Love the conversation with Deontay. We'll talk Jaguars. We'll talk a little AFC South. Coming up later on in the 8 o'clock hour, Ray Fittipaldo of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, as we'll get the Steelers side of this matchup tomorrow night, Steelers-Jaguars. The game can be heard right here on 1010XL with kickoff at 7 o'clock. As always, Jacksonville, we are streaming for your viewing pleasure on the 1010XL YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com, search 1010XL. Be sure and like and subscribe. You'll see Hacker After Dark there until 10 o'clock. Also on Twitter, at 1010XL on Twitter. You'll see the show there until 10 o'clock this evening. So tomorrow, for me, August the 20th, represents 20 years since I started in sports radio here in Jacksonville. The reason I know that, and I know I'm weird with dates, you probably know that as well, if you've listened to me for, a long enough period, but it's my brother's birthday. So my brother's birthday is tomorrow, and I remember back in 2002, I started in radio as an intern at that point. I went to Wolfson High School, graduated May of 2002, was working at the movie theater on Phillips Highway. Met a guy that was a manager there that knew a guy that was in sports radio. Back in the days of The Ball, when Chris McClain was the host in the afternoon, he had an intern named Intern Jay. And Intern Jay and I got to meet through a mutual acquaintance, and I told him basically I would love to get into the world of sports radio. He had just gone over to 930 at the time to become Mike Dempsey's producer. So, in August of 2002, I met Mike Dempsey for the first time. So I go into work on August 20th, 2002, literally my first day in sports radio. And I get this question a lot, Denmark. Where did the whole hacker thing come from? I mean, good grief, the show is called Hacker After Dark. How did Ryan Green morph into a name of hacker? Well, I'll tell you. So my first day at work as an intern at 930, 20 years ago, had to look the part, man. I was looking smooth. Had the nice golf polo, the nice khakis, the dress shoes.
Short tucked in.
Oh, man. Oh, yeah, absolutely. You kidding me? I was looking the part. So Mike Dempsey walks in. He doesn't know me from Adam. He says, wow, man, you're really dressed up for sports radio. And I said, yeah, well, didn't know exactly what to wear. He says, well, you look like you play golf. Are you any good? I said, no, sir, I'm terrible. He said, all right, well, we're going to call you the hacker. I said, all right, that's kind of weird, but whatever, I didn't think anything of it. 4 hours later, Mike is signing off his show. He said, I want to thank Intern Hacker for his help today. And here we are 20 years later on Hacker After Dark. All because of what I wore to work as my first day as an intern 20 years ago tomorrow. August 20th, 2002. And I was thinking over the last 20 years, like I talk about the Friday Night Lights postgame, which begins next Friday here on 1010XL. It'll be year 16 of that. That is by far and away, the longest continuous show that I've been a part of. But man alive, I've been a part of a lot of them. 3 different radio stations, countless co-hosts. I was a producer for many, many years. I bet you off the top of my head, I bet you I've been a part of 20 to 25 different radio programs, either as a producer or as a co-host. And heck, I mean, sports radio, it's what I knew I always wanted to do. When I was at Mandarin Middle School and I was at Wolfson High School, I would literally call David Lamb and Lamb at Large back on the days of 9:30 wins as I was at my bus stop getting ready to go to Mandarin Middle School. And as a 12-year-old, I would call on to David Lamb and Joe Coward's show to talk sports with them. Likewise, when I got off the school bus, not every day because obviously they wouldn't take my call every day, but I would call the Sports Fix with Frank Frangie. Or I would call the Bad Show with Rick Ballou, who were competing with each other at the time. The Bad Show at the Ball turned into the Mac Attack. And I mean, it's what I did. I always knew I wanted to do this. So the fact that tomorrow marks 20 years is pretty nuts. What else is nuts? I mean, look, I met my wife because of this job. I have a son because of sports radio. I literally met my wife at a radio station event. And as a result of that meeting, I have a son. And it's all due to the fact of being in sports radio. So just a pretty cool deal for me, 20 years tomorrow that I've been in sports radio in some capacity. 641-1010 is the phone number on the phone line and on the text line, designed by Lifetime Enclosures. We got a lot of NFL to get to here in the next 45 minutes or so. So I did want to throw this little nugget at you from CBS Sports. 5 unranked teams in the AP poll currently that could find their way into the top 10 by the end of the year. All right? So it's 5 teams that are currently unranked in the AP poll, the preseason poll that just came out, that could find their way into the top 10 at the end of the year. The first 2 don't really have local ties. I'll mention them to you. Penn State in the Big Ten, Texas in the Big 12. The other 3 make you think a little bit. 1, they have Josh Heupel in Tennessee. Boy, they really think some good things are going to happen on Rocky Top this year. With Hendon Hooker at quarterback, they got a good offense. We'll see about their defense, but they really like their chances in Tennessee. Their problem is their problem every year. They play Georgia and Alabama. And unless you beat one of them, you have no shot at winning the SEC East, and you have very little shot of ending up in the top 10 at the end of the year. Brian Kelly and LSU are on this list. LSU might be in rebuild mode, but they're still awfully good. Their problem is obvious, and it's, again, the same thing every year. They play in the SEC West. And with Bama and A&M, Ole Miss and Arkansas, even Mississippi State, good luck with a first-year head coach in Brian Kelly. And the final team on this list, unranked teams that could find their way into the top 10, you got the Florida Gators. CBS is higher on Florida than I am. I just, for the life of me, cannot see Florida finishing in the top 10. If Florida finishes in the top 10 this year, Billy Napier is the national coach of the year. And there shouldn't even be a conversation about it. With that schedule and the roster he's inheriting, if they make it into the top 10 at any point this season, Napier should be coach of the year. But CBS at least thinks there's a chance that could potentially happen. More college football coming up in the 9 o'clock hour. Coming up next, let's talk a little Jaguars, a little AFC South. Let's look around the National Football League. Deontay Lee does a terrific job covering the NFL for The Athletic on a national basis, and he joins us next. It's a Friday night edition of Hacker After Dark right here on 1010XL, 92.5 FM in Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us.
Robbins Racing.
He said he was a little bit free.
This Sunday at Watkins Glen.
I'm not sure we're done with cautions either.
Brought to you by Famous Automotive Tire and Quick Lube. Servicing every customer like they're famous. On Jacksonville's NASCAR station, 1010XL.
Hun, have you noticed the toilet's flushing really slowly?
Yeah, and the shower's not draining well.
Wonder what it is.
Our septic tank needs to be pumped.
You think?
Dude, it's been years.
The EPA recommends your septic tank should be pumped out every 3 years. Avoid damage to your drain field. Call Duck Duck Rooter today. Get better flows and better smells.
When you're stuck, call the duck. 904-862-6769.
This is your Mad Dad's Update with Chapter President Donald Ford.
We are off the chain again. We had 5 shootings, 2 killed in a matter of hours. It was not just the north side. It was all over. Mayport, south side, west side, north side. Let you know it's not just one part of town. We know they have a sheriff race coming up. We cannot get caught up on that. We as a community have got to say enough is enough. We've got to take a stand and start breaking the code of silence and tell what we know. As always, JSO was not there when the 5 shootings occurred. Hit me on Facebook and tell me what you think.
For information about Mad Dad, go to Mad Dad's Jacksonville Chapter Facebook or MadDadsJacksonville.com.
Hey everybody, Mike Dempsey here for Pella Windows and Doors. These intense summer storms are a good reminder to visit the Pella showroom on Phillips Highway. Check out Pella's new Hurricane Shield and Defender series. These amazing windows exceed all coastal requirements for storm protection. Seriously, they can withstand the impact of a 2x4 shot out of a cannon at 50 feet per second. You want quality, style, and protection? Visit PellaJacks.com and the showroom on Phillips Highway right next to Tesla. That's Pella Windows and Doors.
If you've been involved in a car accident, call me, Glenn Levine, at the law offices of Anajar and Levine at 904-600-4000. That's 904-600-4000, and take back control of your life. Office in Jacksonville.
Imagine kicking back with a cocktail and enjoying beautiful views of Riverside, the St. Johns River, and downtown. You can do just that from the rooftop bar at Black Sheep in historic 5 Points. Happy hour is Tuesday through Sunday from 4 to 7 p.m. For all you night owls, enjoy nightcap specials on Friday and Saturday from 10 p.m. to midnight. Snack on some delicious offerings from the bar menu like fried green olives or the famous Black Sheep Burger. Make your next happy hour at Black Sheep.
Hi, I'm Sean Monahan from Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach, your local family jeweler for 45 years with GIA-certified diamonds and gemstones, fashion jewelry in gold, and the latest styles. Also know that we have a full-service jewelry repair and restoration department, and our jewelers can get most repairs done in a couple of days. If you need a ring-sized or stone replaced or chain repaired, we can do it. Monahan's also buys gold and diamonds, so bring those in and we'll pay you top dollar. And remember, we can finish most jewelry repairs in a day or two. Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach.
Estate cleanouts, hoarding cleanouts, old appliances, and even tools. There are tons of reasons why you or someone you know may need expert help clearing space. J-Dog Junk Removal will responsibly help you free up space. That means when they leave your place, it looks better. Whether it's you or a loved one that needs one type of clean out at your home, trust the veterans at J-Dog Junk Removal. Veteran owned and operated. Call 844-GET-JDOG or visit jdog.com.
The 9 after 5 keeps rolling at Southampton. Joe C. inviting you to jump on the tee every Wednesday at the Golf Club of Southampton. Just call 287-PLAY and sign up. We'll give you a little time after work to get there. Always a fun 9-hole game. Chef Gary preparing something nice for afterwards. Prizes and more than anything else. Playing golf with buds and having some suds after. It's the 9 after 5 every Wednesday at the Golf Club of Southampton. Call 287-PLAY and get on the tee with Joe C.
Hello, Jacksonville. This is Greg McGarity, President and CEO of Gator Bowl Sports. The TaxSlayer Gator Bowl game and events have been a Jacksonville staple for more than 75 years. We support more than 4,200 local youth annually through Gator Bowl charities. Gator Bowl Sports is a perfect way for local companies and individuals to get involved. We'd love to meet with you and talk about how you can join our team. If you'd like to learn more, contact us at 798-1700. 798-1700.
Mark Watson with Hardball Creative. Youth sports are getting back into full swing, so you know what that means. Custom Yetis so dads can keep their beer or sodas cold. Check them out at hardballcreative.com.
Hardball Creative. Hardball does it all.
This date in sports history is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On August 19th, 2018, Novak Djokovic beats Roger Federer in the final of the Cincinnati Masters to become the first player to win all 9 Masters.
This 1010XL 92.5 FM hour is powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 904-600-4000. That's 904-600-4000. This is Hacker After Dark on 1010XL. Now, hello. Another great guest on the Farah and Farah phone line. Brought to you by the accident attorneys at Farah and Farah.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. The Jaguars and the Steelers this Saturday night, preseason game number 3 for the Jaguars. Probably the last time we will see the starters, and probably the game we will see the starters the most, as they're expected to play most of the first half. Deontay Lee does a terrific job covering the National Football League for The Athletic, and he's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Deontay, how you doing?
I'm doing well, man. Can't complain. How's everything with you?
Hey, Deontay, we are good, man. Thank you for the time. And 2 preseason games in for the Jaguars. I guess the big story down here, Deontay, well, it's twofold. Trevor Lawrence on the offensive side, but let's begin with Trayvon Walker on the defensive side. He hasn't played very much, but the time he's been out there, he certainly looks pretty impactful.
I would say so. I mean, the question with him is always going to be how refined his pass rush was going to be, especially early in his career for being the number 1 overall pick in his draft. And that's something that we won't have the complete answer to until sometime during the season, if not down the line in his career. But one thing that is for sure is that he is explosive, definitely powerful, and we definitely saw it in the Hall of Fame game while he was out there because the Raiders had enough passing opportunities for us to really get a look at him. Is that first step definitely is going to have an impact on NFL level tackles, and he definitely has the power and strength, I think, to get around the edge, when he needs to. And I think that as he continues to add some moves in terms of hand fighting and his hips and all of that, we're going to see even more improvements in his game. But he definitely looks really promising in what we've seen of him this preseason.
It's not really fair to compare him to anybody. I mean, he's only played 2 preseason games, yet the mind does tend to wander a little bit, going back to last year to a guy like a Micah Parsons, for example. Mm-hmm. Do you see any comparison between the two?
If you're going to talk about like the edge rush skill set in the sense that, how they get off the edge, the fact that they're very explosive guys and they have speed, but they definitely are most effective being powerful, I would certainly agree on that end. What Micah Parsons has on him that Trayvon Walker just has not necessarily shown a lot of yet. And we want to be fair because there's plenty of time for him to get to it in his career. And those are just the off-ball linebacker skills, right? Like Georgia did have him drop into coverage every once in a while, kind of based on their defensive scheme, but what he was being asked to do as a guy who was lined up on the line of scrimmage and then eventually dropping into coverage isn't necessarily the same as what Micah Parsons was, which was a true linebacker the entire way through, who happened to have his best tape at Penn State come as an edge rusher. So it's an interesting comparison, something I'm certainly interested to see whether or not they lean into some of the versatility in his skill set based off of what we saw when he was at Georgia.
Deontay Lee of The Athletic here with us on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Final defensive thought for the Jaguars, Deontay. So much was talked about with the offense, what they did in free agency to surround Trevor with talent. We'll get to that in a moment. But you look at the defense, whether it's Trayvon Walker, Josh Allen, remember Shaq Griffin, Rayshawn Jenkins, Andre Sisco. Mike Caldwell is the new defensive coordinator here. Watching that game last Friday that the starters were in, I don't know how good they're going to be, but man alive, they got some dudes out there for the first time in a while.
I would certainly say so, and it's one of those really interesting things as a guy who came from, Tampa Bay and somebody who's really he would probably say he's probably closer to the Eagles tree, which is how he and Doug Peterson are connected, that Andy Reid kind of coaching tree. But I would certainly say that one of the things that it seems that he's taken away from his time with Todd Bowles in Tampa Bay, is that building a defense from front to back is still really important in the modern game. And I think that the way that they attack the draft and free agency in terms of trying to address the bodies that they have up front, the bodies that they have at linebacker, embracing how important it is to be good at those positions if you really want to maintain yourself throughout the course of the year, being able to generate pressure and stop the run. I think that this defense certainly has an opportunity to do so. I like some of the bodies that they have, both young and veteran. And I'm really interested to see how some of these competitions kind of tear out, in terms of Devin Lloyd when he's healthy. What is his role going to be? We've seen a lot of Chad Muma this preseason. I'm interested to see how that works out for him early in his career, as a guy who can cover and play out in space. So there's a lot of competition there and some guys athletically that definitely pop off the screen when you're watching them play.
To the offensive side of the ball, we didn't see a lot of Trevor Lawrence, a little over a quarter, but we saw him go 4 for 4 for 53 yards on that final drive, including the touchdown to Evan Ingram. Your thoughts on Trevor now with Doug Peterson in charge, and not only Doug Peterson, Deontay, we talk about Mike McCoy, Press Taylor, Jim Bob Cooter. I mean, there's a lot of guys that have coached a lot of quarterbacks in that Jaguar coaching room.
I mean, it's reflected in how he's looked in the preseason, and the word I would use is just sharp, right? And that's something that you get, going from year 1 to year 2, that rookie to kind of sophomore transition in the NFL is certainly something that you would like to see of your franchise picks at quarterback. But that sharpness, the command of the offense, the command of the throws that he's trying to make. You see a little bit more ease, I think, in the pocket, and I think that's a product of having the time spent with the staff that you mentioned and really getting to understand what these concepts are, where guys are going to break open, based on the call versus certain coverages and everything like that. So you definitely, I think, see that kind of confidence of coming out of what was a definitely tumultuous rookie year and getting a little bit more stability, not only in terms of what's happening organizationally, but what's happening in his meeting rooms every day.
Deontay Lee of The Athletic here with us on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Deontay, look, I'm not saying Travis Etienne is going to become this, but Deebo Samuel was not Deebo Samuel until he became Deebo Samuel, if that makes sense. Alvin Kamara, you could say the same thing. I see what Peterson did last week with Etienne, and again, probably a vanilla game plan, but he had him out wide, he had him in the slot, he had him in the backfield. It is very apparent that they are going to try an Alvin Kamara or Deebo Samuel, to me, Travis Etienne here in Jacksonville.
I would certainly say so, and that's a really interesting kind of wrinkle because that's not something that Doug Peterson has spent a lot of time doing in his career, and maybe he just hasn't had the weapon out of the backfield or in the slot to do so, but this definitely opens up some interesting things, and we saw a little bit of it. What Travis does well, and this is something that he spent a lot of time at Clemson at, and probably the reason that he stayed for his senior year when it didn't really help his draft stock, was that he wanted to kind of show that he could be a true receiving threat, somebody who can really play out in space. It's not a guy that you only have to hand the ball off to if you want him to affect your offense. And I think that investment that he made into his game certainly shows now when you're looking at him out on the perimeter, whether it's the jet sweeps, whether you get him involved with screens and things of that effect. And having him do that, I think also opens the door for you to get Etienne on the field even when James Robinson is healthy and available, right? And now you have, as a defense, you have to make some different choices in terms of what you want to do to defend those types of looks, and it gives you more versatility on offense. And I think that that's kind of a common theme that we've talked about, certainly something that I think that we'll hear from the coaching staff as they go along, is that trying to build out as much versatility and put as many threats on the field as possible is going to be important, not only for the quarterback and offense's development, but for making sure that each of these guys get to eat evenly, especially for an offense, I think, that misses, having a number one true threat out at receiver. This is definitely another way to try to generate offense when you don't have a dominant force out there with you.
So much was made, Deontay, of the Christian Kirk signing here in Jacksonville because of the contract. Zay Jones was kind of the other guy, right, that got signed. Yet in practice and in the game last week, Zay Jones is doing some things. I'm curious your thought on a guy like Zay Jones and what he could bring here to Jacksonville.
Well, we've seen a little bit of everything from him, right? The ability to go make contested catches. He has a pretty good route tree. I think his time with John Gruden at his last stint professionally definitely helped out with that. he's a bigger body guy, so he's also somebody who can go up and get those contested throws. So I think that, as far as quarterbacking goes for Trevor Lawrence, guys like that are kind of your best friend if they're not just going to be the best physical specimens. Is guys who can do a little bit of everything. You can really go lay the ball out and trust the fact that he's going to get it and he'll be in the right spot. And I think that that's reflected in just how effective he's looked as a wide receiver so far this preseason. And I can't say that I'm surprised, because a few times or whenever it was that the Raiders were able to get him involved in the offense, it always seemed like he was in position to go out and make a play. So I'm really interested to see kind of how he shakes out in the pecking order for this offense.
Final moments here with Deontay Lee. You can catch him at The Athletic. He does a great job covering the National Football League. Deontay, look, the bottom line is the Jaguars are better than they have been. I'm not breaking any news there. It would be hard to get worse, right? They won 4 games in the last 2 years. The question is, how much better are they? So I'll ask you, what's your season outlook, if you will, for the Jacksonville Jaguars?
I think just like any rebuilding team right now, a lot of the stress is going to be on depth. And I think that you see that major drop off in some of the talent level at key positions when you go from your first team, to your twos in these preseason moments. So, the one thing that is a fact in NFL football is that guys are going to get hurt. Guys are going to have to miss time, and backups are going to have to step up. So I would certainly expect this group to be very competitive early in the year when they're healthy. And then, where this ceiling is, I think is going to depend a lot on whether or not you get some of these young guys to have these breakout years, and it puts a lot on the shoulders of a guy like Devin Lloyd or Trayvon Walker to have to show up and be the guy while they're still trying to figure out exactly who they are in the National Football League. But this thing isn't fair. So I would certainly expect them to be more in that kind of 6 to 7 win range as a team. You've got professionals all the way through the coaching staff. I think more professionals on the roster, guys who know what it takes to win. So I would certainly expect them to be a little bit more competitive. And I say if you get 6 or 7 wins out of this season in this division, and maybe you finish second or third in there, you should feel really, really good about your prospects heading into Trevor Lawrence's 3rd season.
There was a time here in Jacksonville where you could not give Trent Baalke a compliment because it just was going to be unacceptable by the fan base, the ones that were dressing up as clowns anyway in December.
Yes.
Yet, Deontay, I look at what he's done last year and this year with this roster. I'm sorry, Baalke to me has done a good job. What's your thought there?
He's done exactly what you want to see a GM do when the roster is in the position that it was over the last couple of seasons, and that's to go out and aggressively seek as much young playable talent as you can find. It's a credit to him, to recognize the mess that it was and be able to go out and try to clean it up on the fly. And the unfortunate thing is that your reputation always precedes you, right? And based on how fans in San Francisco felt about him on the way out, how fans in Jacksonville feel about him now, he's going to be fighting an uphill battle. But I think if you get some of these draft picks to hit early, the best thing in the world to get guys to forget how they felt about you before is to start winning right now. So I definitely think that he's positioned himself about as well as you can in terms of a rebuilding roster. And now I'm really interested to see whether some of these picks and investments that he's made in young guys has some early returns. I think that that's what's ultimately going to tell the story on his tenure here.
Deontay, final question, man. Thank you again for joining us. Know you're busy this time of year. The division, the AFC South. Is it Indianapolis, Tennessee, and then Jacksonville, Houston? Would that be your pecking order right now?
That's kind of where I'm at. I thought that Indianapolis could have been a true contender last year had Carson Wentz been able to hold it together down the stretch. And I think that having Matt Ryan, adding Alec Pierce as a young guy, I think that, they've got all the pieces that you need offensively, I think, to go out and be one of the better offenses in the league, kind of revolving around Jonathan Taylor. So I would certainly say that they're first. Tennessee's in a really interesting place because I don't think there's necessarily something wrong with the roster, but I do think that attrition is starting to catch up, and we've seen that year over year, that they've gone from being a real dominant force offensively to kind of slipping, one year after the next. And now, in the way that they exited the playoffs last year, I think opens a lot of questions about what this season's going to look like, especially after drafting a quarterback. And I would say that Jacksonville falls right behind them. Not a team I expect to make the playoffs, but a team I think that can beat any one of these divisional opponents, at least one of the two games that they're going to see them. So I expect them to finish third, and then we know that Houston is really trying to churn a lot of their roster and try to put up a more competitive product. So they are in a different phase, I think, in their building process right now. So I would expect them to be at the bottom of this division.
Deontay Lee of The Athletic. Deontay, thank you for the time, man. Always appreciate it. We'll talk again in the regular season and see where the Jaguars stand at that point.
Thank you, man.
Always enjoy the conversation with Deontay Lee. You can check him out at theathletic.com. That was the kind of the broad overview, right? The NFL, the Jaguars, the AFC South. What about the game here in Jacksonville tomorrow night? We've given you the Jaguar side of things all week long. We've given you the Jaguar side of things. How are they looking at this preseason game up in Pittsburgh? Do you realize today, Dylan Denmark, that the Pittsburgh Steelers got on a plane? Oh, yeah, man. And they flew to Jacksonville for the ball game tomorrow night. Ray Fittipaldo of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette is our guy up in Pittsburgh. How long will Kenny Pickett play tomorrow night? How much Mitch Trubisky will we see tomorrow night? And what about Myles Jack? How is he fitting in to that Steeler defense? We'll talk Steelers before the Steelers-Jaguars matchup with Ray Fittipaldo of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. That's next, a Friday night edition of Hacker After Dark right here on both 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
This is your captain speaking. Please return to your seats. We will be experiencing turbulence.
1010XL. Taking turbulence out of the air.
Waste Management is paying a $5,000 bonus to CDL drivers and heavy truck mechanics for jobs in Jacksonville, Green Cove Springs, Callahan, and St. Augustine. Apply online at wm.com/careers.
Equal opportunity employer.
Men, if you're struggling with erectile dysfunction or PE and frustrated taking pills that don't work, Prime Men's Medical Center offers breakthrough medical treatments that effectively treat your problem. 98% of patients experience immediate results during their first office visit. And for a limited time, your initial consultation and first treatment are completely free. Listen to a specialist in men's health.
I'm Dr. Rubinsky. The physicians at Prime Men's Medical Center offer the most advanced treatments that eliminate ED and PE. Now men are lasting 30, 60, 90 minutes or longer, regardless of age or medical history.
Guys, to eliminate your frustration in the bedroom, call Prime Men's Medical Center now to take advantage of this exclusive limited-time offer. Your initial consultation and first treatment are totally free, and you'll see instant results right in the office. Call now, 904-664-8217. 904-664-8217. That's 904-664-8217.
Concrete floors don't have to be ugly and hard to clean. Whether it's a garage with cracks, tire marks, and failed epoxy, or any concrete surface that isn't beautiful and maintenance-free, Shark Coatings will transform it. Our coating and warranty are stronger, more durable, and longer lasting than any other on the market. And because Shark Coatings is 100% UV stable for life, it's perfect for any concrete surface outside as well. Shark Coatings will let you reclaim those wasted hours spent pressure washing your driveway, patios, and walkways. Hit us up on social media or call 904-519-5055 to set up your free estimate today.
Hacker here for my friends at Xfinity. Well, get the speed you need at a great price. It's also the fastest internet on the largest gig speed network. In fact, Xfinity gig speed internet is available to 99% of their footprint. You can also enjoy all your favorite apps. They're all in one place. That's with the Flex 4K streaming box that's free with your Xfinity internet. You can stay connected on the go with over 20 million secure Xfinity Wi-Fi hotspots nationwide, and Xfinity's internet service brings the entire experience together by connecting other services like xFi, Advanced Security, Xfinity Flex, and more. This is based on Xfinity's fastest available download speeds, not available in all areas. Performance may be limited by customers' device configuration. Go to Xfinity.com, call 1-800-XFINITY, or Jacksonville, do what I did and drop into an Xfinity store today.
Leon Searcy here. You've heard it said that every vehicle has a triangle of safety: the tires, brakes, and the front end. So I trust my friends at Famous Automotive and Quick Lube to always keep my ride running safe and smooth. And listen up, and if you're an auto manager or service tech, you want to work with the best family in the business, visit any Famous Automotive shop today. They're hiring now. And hey, tell them Big Sur sent you.
Famous Automotive and Famous Quick Lube, servicing every customer and employee like they're famous.
Equal opportunity employer.
Find your why in a rewarding career at the First Coast YMCA. Did you know the Y runs the before and after school programs at every public elementary school in Clay County? It's true, and we can only open up new spots for students when we have enough staff. And that means the Y needs you. The Y is an equal opportunity employer, and we're hiring youth program leaders, lifeguards, instructors, and much more. Visit your local Y for more information. Find your passion, find your why, and a career at fcymca.org.
Hey folks, Mike Dempsey here, and right now is the time to ramp up your drafting for fantasy football season. I always use Underdog Fantasy to draft now because there's no in-season management. Of course, I do it to try and win the $10 million in prizes too, but it organically prepares me for my local season-long drafts as well. So sign up now, head to UnderdogFantasy.com or the App Store, and when you do sign up, use promo code 1010XL. Underdog will match your first deposit up to $100. Underdog Fantasy, don't forget to sign up with promo code 1010XL.
People often think if they don't have symptoms, they shouldn't get tested for colon cancer. If you're 45 or older, it's time to get checked. Hicken here for the Borland Groover Foundation. The key to surviving colon cancer, early detection and prevention. Protect your end zone. If you're over 45, ask your doctor about a colonoscopy. 45 is the new 50. The Borland Groover Foundation is a nonprofit organization devoted to helping the community and save lives. Visit BorlandGrooverFoundation.com for more.
Beaches Jewelry and Pawn is ready to help. If you need extra cash or a quick loan, Beaches Jewelry and Pawn has cash in hand. They also love to buy items of value. They need gold, silver coins, and flatware, jewelry, guitars, and of course, guns.
So you got a letter from your insurance company saying that your policy will be canceled if you don't replace your roof. I did, and before I did anything, I called Ken Lawler and Fifth Element Adjusting. Ken, how's it work?
Jeff, if you've received a non-renewal letter from your insurance carrier, our team will help you navigate the confusing process and review your policy for you. Our goal is to get your damaged property replaced so you can get back to your life. Call Fifth Element Adjusting or visit feaclaims.com. If you're happy with the outcome of your claim, Fifth Element Adjusting will not be able to help you. Ken Lawler, DFS number P213199.
Kick off this fall on the links at Junior Achievement's annual Golf Classic at San Jose Golf and Country Club. For more than 11 years, the funds raised support JA's efforts to help inspire and prepare our youth to succeed in a global economy. All participants enjoy on-the-green breakfast, lunch, drinks, post-play reception, awards, contests, prizes, and much more. To play or sponsor, contact Stephanie Saman at janfl.org or call 398-9944, extension 231.
The flagship station of the Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach. This 1010XL 92.5 FM hour is powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 904-600-4000. That's 904-600-4000. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL. Now, another interview on the Farah and Farah phone line, brought to you by the accident attorneys at Farah and Farah.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. 2 preseason games down for the Jaguars, 2 more to go. That begins Saturday night when the Pittsburgh Steelers roll into town. Of course, you'll hear the game right here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Ray Fittipaldo of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette is our guy up in Pittsburgh, and he's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Ray, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you, Ryan?
Hey, Ray, we are good, man. Steelers and the Jaguars Saturday night. Just a brief overview before we look at the game and some of the storylines coming in. How has camp gone to this point, and what's the feeling up there in Pittsburgh 3 weeks into camp?
Yeah, they actually break camp here on Thursday, so they'll be headed back to their Pittsburgh facility after the Jaguars game. And really this year it's all about the quarterbacks, and everyone is focused on Mitch Trubisky and Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph. And to this point, Mitch Trubisky is the starter. He's taken most of the reps with the starters, Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph, battling for number 2. The fans down there in Jacksonville will see a healthy dose of Kenny Pickett on Saturday night. Mike Tomlin said on Wednesday that he would like to get Pickett more quote-unquote varsity action. So Pickett finished up in the first preseason game against the Seahawks. He played the second half. Look for him to play in the first half against the Jags.
Is there a quarterback competition, Ray? Or is there a real quarterback competition, or do you still believe Trubisky will be the starter on opening day?
No, not really. I've said all along, and you can look at the reps. Mr. Trubisky would have to fall on his face in these preseason games for him not to be the starter, and he actually looked pretty darn good against the Seahawks. Led a touchdown drive on his first drive. They got him out of there, I think, after 2 or 3 series. I don't think he's going to play a ton in this game. I think he might play a quarter or so against the Jaguars, and then their dress rehearsal, when he'll probably play a half, will be against Detroit next Sunday. So, yeah, Mr. Trubisky has done fine. We'll see how he does during the regular season. I think there's a decent chance that Kenny Pickett could be the guy at some point this season, but they're not going to rush that.
Ray Fittipaldo of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette here with us on 1010XL Radio in Jacksonville. Ray, you talk about Kenny Pickett. I did not watch the game live. I caught it on the NFL Network, but following the live stats of the game, I think Pickett started like 10 for 10 or something ridiculous like that. Now, granted, it was in the second half of preseason game number 1, but what did he show you? What did he show folks up in Pittsburgh in that first preseason game that might lead you to believe he might be the long-term answer?
Yeah, he made good decisions, and that wasn't the case early in camp. He looked like a rookie in the first week, maybe 10 days of camp, threw some interceptions, did not look comfortable at all. I thought he played really, he settled down in that game. He was 13 for 15, 95 yards, threw a couple of touchdown passes. And it just looks, as the weeks go along here, it's looking like he's more comfortable. He's making short throws. He's not trying to force the ball downfield. I think sometimes young quarterbacks get into that. That's a problem for them. They want to make that big throw into those tight windows when, the short and the intermediate stuff is more available underneath. So good first step for Kenny against the Seahawks, and I'm sure he'll be looking to improve upon that Saturday night against the Jaguars.
Ray Fittipaldo of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Ray, I remember having you on a couple of months ago. At that time, there were contract issues with both Minkah Fitzpatrick and with Deontay Johnson. Johnson got a nice 2-year extension. Where are we with the contract issues there in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, they got them all taken care of early, so they're just able to focus on the season here. I think there's a decent chance that they might do something with Cam Sutton. He's currently in the last year of a $9 million deal that was over 2 years, so he makes about $4.5 million a year. I think they might try to do something with him before the season starts, but that would just be, a small bump in salary. He's their most versatile defensive back. They like him. This would be his 3rd contract here. Still in his prime. I think he's only 28, 29 years old. So if they can get that done before the season starts, I think they'll be happy. But when you get those big ones out of the way early, that takes a lot of the drama away from training camp. And what we saw last year, I think T.J. Watt signed 2 days before that Bills game, and they've done that in previous seasons. So Omar Khan, in his first year as GM, a little different tact. He wanted to get those situation squared away, and he got it done, pretty early. Minkah was done in June, then Deontay Johnson was done, I think, 2 weeks ago now. So he's done a good job with that.
Ray, certainly one of the big storylines for Saturday night, as big as a storyline can get for a preseason football game, is Myles Jack returning to Jacksonville. He was a starter here for 6 years. A lot of fans really liked Myles Jack. A lot of fans, quite frankly, were very surprised when the Jaguars cut Myles Jack in March. How has Jack looked to this point, and how does he fit into that Steeler defense?
I'll tell you, he looks really good. I'm not sure what the issues were down there in Jacksonville. I know they had a coaching change, and maybe that had something to do with it. But He's running around. He's going to be one of the leaders of this defense up here. Cam Hayward is the team captain. On the defensive line, they got T.J. Watt, of course, Minka Fitzpatrick in the back. But I think when you look at stabilizing the middle of that Steelers defense, which has really been an issue for them for the last couple of years, I think they're hoping that he'll do that. They drafted Devin Bush with the number 10 overall pick back in 2019. He has not panned out. They did not pick up his fifth-year option, so they knew they weren't going to pick him up when they went out and got Miles Jack. And I think Miles Jack is going to be, sort of the alpha dog in the middle of that Steelers defense. And if he could have a good season, he could shore up that run defense. I think the Steelers defense will be back in the top 10 again. They took a little bit of a step back last year, had a season-long trouble stopping the run, and that kind of affected everything else. I think if Miles Jack can step in and be the player that he was a few years ago for the Jaguars, the Steelers defense will benefit greatly.
Couple of more for Ray Fittipaldo of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Again, Steelers and Jaguars Saturday night here in Jacksonville. The game will be heard right here on 1010XL Radio. It's almost comical at this point, Ray, that the Steelers just strike gold in round 2, round 3 of the NFL draft when it comes to wide receiver. It was Chase Claypool. I don't even know where Deontay Johnson was drafted, but I know he wasn't a high draft pick. And then you get a guy that we're very familiar with in George Pickens. That was a shot to the solar plexus for me. I was screaming George Pickens' name here in Jacksonville. He has gone up to Pittsburgh, Ray, and you tell me, your boots on the ground up there, everything we hear is that guy is unbelievably impressive already.
I cannot remember another rookie who has played as well as he has during training camp. And then you saw him carry it over into the Seahawks game. Made a terrific catch in the back of the end zone, tapped his feet, was able to stay in bounds. He's the real deal. Now, listen, the play of the offensive line is going to have to do a lot with how he produces this year, of course. How the quarterback plays is going to have a lot to say about how he does this year. But talent-wise and what he's done so far in the training camp practices, I am not surprised at all. If you look at the betting odds and some of those preseason lists, he's a favorite for Offensive Rookie of the Year. He's been that good, and it's amazing. You look at the talent on the field. He's big. You wonder why he fell to the second round. And I know there were some injury concerns and maybe some off the field stuff, but usually, NFL GMs will take a shot on a guy like that, say late first round or early second round. Steelers were shocked he was there in the middle of the second round when they selected, and it looks like they're going to have themselves a great player for years to come.
Yeah, look, I loved him at Georgia. I know the ACL kind of derailed things a little bit, but it does not surprise me. He's been very good because I thought he was going to be a terrific football player in the National Football League. Ray, a lot of fantasy drafts going on, certainly in our parts here in Jacksonville. Give us a quick thought on Najee Harris coming into year number 2. Thought he was very good his rookie year. What can we anticipate in year 2 from Harris?
Yeah, I think 1,200 yards as a rookie was a good pass catcher, too, out of the backfield. He does not come off the field a lot. One thing to watch if you're drafting him in fantasy this year, he has had a foot injury in training camp, and he's just starting to come back this week. He's taken part in some team periods of practice, but he's been sidelined for about 2 weeks here. He's not going to play Saturday, I don't think. We'll probably get him a little bit in that final preseason game. And then one other note on him, the Steelers really would like to lessen his workload this year. He had a ton of touches his first year. They're a little bit concerned about exposing him to injury. So he's still going to be their main guy, but maybe look for, maybe 5 to 10% fewer touches this year. I think they're going to try to get some of their other backs involved. But when you're looking at starting running backs in fantasy, he's still going to be among the top guys in touches. And depending on how that line plays this year, he should be a pretty good producer, both in the running game and as a receiver out of the backfield.
Final moments with Ray Fittipaldo of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. All right, Ray, coming into Saturday night, what is the thought as far as the starting units for Pittsburgh? How long should we expect to see them?
Yeah, I think Trubisky probably just a couple of series again, and I think you'll see Kenny Pickett and the second team. So probably similar to what they did against the Seahawks, 2 or 3 series, maybe shorter if they do well and they go down and score a touchdown. But I don't think Jacksonville is going to see a lot of the Steelers starters on Saturday night.
Ray Fittipaldo of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Ray, always appreciate the time, man. Thank you very much, and we'll see you down here in Jacksonville on Saturday night.
All right, Ryan, anytime. Take care.
Thank you to Ray Fittipaldo of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. We'll get back in to the Jacksonville Jaguars coming up in about 20, 25 minutes or so. My friend Zig Fracassi of SiriusXM NFL Radio. Coming up next, we'll shift gears to the college gridiron. The Hurricanes down in South Florida, they're getting ready for year number 1 with Mario Cristobal. Adam Lichtenstein does a great job for the South Florida Sun Sentinel covering the Miami Hurricanes. We'll talk Mario Cristobal. We'll talk Tyler Van Dyke. We'll talk about the ACC and a little recruiting as well. Adam Lichtenstein, South Florida Sun Sentinel. He is next on Hacker After Dark.
1010XL. Home of the Florida Gators. Few things bring greater anticipation and excitement than the start of a new football season. Get fresh gossip, truth, and tips from 1010XL insiders. Training camp coverage is brought to you by Roland Reich Plumbing and Kingfish Pest Control.
It all comes down to Daytona and the Coke Zero Sugar 400 race weekend, August 26th and 27th. Answer this question for a chance to win a pair of tickets to the Coke Zero Sugar 400, August 27th. Who won last year's Coke Zero Sugar 400? Text the driver's last name only to 641-1010. Who won last year's Coke Zero Sugar 400? Text the driver's last name only to 641-1010 for your chance to win.
Tom Casey here with Griffin Service. As I look around Jacksonville, I see plumbing that can be held together better by duct tape, electrical work that can double as a shock collar, and AC work I know costs an arm and a leg on your utility bill. Save $1 today, but it costs you $10 down the road. At Griffin, we don't think you want, or maybe even know, you're hiring El Cheapo and cut rate work. So, if you need plumbing, AC, or electrical help, and you want it done right, call GriffinService.com and know you're getting the best.
Atlantic Self Storage, the official storage partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Need to make room to watch football in your home, or need a place to park your boat or RV? Store it all at Atlantic Self Storage. Over 50 locations in Northeast Florida. 24-hour access, all with month-to-month leases. Moving, they can help with supplies. They make storage easy. Go to AtlanticSelfStorage.com or call 877-WE-STORE to find a storage solution near you. Go Jags!
This is Hayes Carlyon for Kingfish Pest Control, a local family-owned business that specializes in pest, termites, mosquito, and rodent prevention. I tell you what, when I got my new home, I had to put on my reporter's hat, find out who really is the best, and it turns out there's no competition. Kingfish provides exceptional service and treats me like a valued customer, not just an account. That's why I wholeheartedly recommend Kingfish Pest Control, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Hey folks, you know Chick-fil-A restaurants serve delicious food like the Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich or waffle potato fries, but you may not know how Chick-fil-A restaurant owners invest in their team members. Chick-fil-A restaurant owners offer flexible hours, leadership development, scholarship opportunities, and more. So if you're looking to grow your career, well, don't miss this opportunity to join your local Chick-fil-A restaurant. Apply online today by visiting your local Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A restaurants are operated by independent franchise business owners. Chick-fil-A, an equal opportunity employer.
Are you looking to be a part of a company where you feel respected and your efforts will be recognized? Jason Parker here with Performance Painting. We're hiring professional painters and trainees who are friendly and have an eagerness to learn and grow. If you don't take yourself too seriously, but do take your profession seriously, you're likely to be a good fit here. Great pay, paid time off, medical, dental, and a company-matched 401k are just a few of the benefits waiting for you at Performance Painting. Go to performance-painting.com. Performance Painting, quality coatings applied with pride.
Equal opportunity employer.
Honda continues to impress with their new lineup this year. Don't settle for less when the best is just minutes away. We invite you to visit your local Honda dealer and see the vehicles everyone is talking about. Remember, only a Honda is a Honda. Come see us. We're dealing.
There's still time to purchase your tickets for the Summer Nights presented by 121 Financial.
Enjoy an evening affair benefiting Boys and Girls Club of Northeast Florida as you enjoy delicious foods from local restaurants like Orsay, craft cocktails, fine wine, and craft beer while dancing to live music from the Bold City Classics. Summer Nights will be held Saturday, August 27th at the Glass Factory. Purchase your tickets at tinyurl.com/1010 Summer Nights.
This date in sports history is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On August 19th, 2018, Novak Djokovic beats Roger Federer in the final of the Cincinnati Masters to become the first player to win all 9 Masters.
This 1010XL 92.5 FM hour is powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 904-600-4000. That's 904-600-4000.
Work it, make it, do it. Makes us all better, faster, stronger.
Hacker After Dark on 1010XL. Now, another interview on the Farah and Farah phone line, brought to you by the accident attorneys at Farah and Farah.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. It is hard to believe we are a week and a half away from the first Saturday of college football. Of course, that means we are 2.5 weeks away from Labor Day weekend, where we will find Miami, Florida, and Georgia all getting underway. Of course, Florida State begins next Saturday, taking on Duquesne. Let's go to the South Florida area. My friend Adam Lichtenstein, the South Florida Sun-Sentinel, does a great job covering the Miami Hurricanes, and he's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Adam, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm getting hyped up for the start of football season. I mean, I'm even excited to watch FSU versus Duquesne.
I already told my wife Saturday the 27th I'm going to watch a nauseating amount of football. I'm almost embarrassed at all the football I'm going to watch a week from Saturday. Miami starts the following week, Adam, on September 3rd. Just an overview. I mean, look, a lot of expectations coming in with Mario Cristobal in year number 1. What is the thought around that program as we get ready for the 2022 season?
There's definitely a lot of excitement. I mean, the expectations are high, a lot higher than you'd expect for a team that's, coming off a 7-5 record. But I mean, people are expecting a lot. I think people in the program expect a lot from this team because the talent's there. I mean, there's a lot of talented players in this roster, starting with quarterback Tyler Van Dyke. When you have a quarterback as talented as him, I mean, you can have a successful season even if the team around, the rest of the team around the position groups isn't exactly where you want it to be. If you have a quarterback that's that good, he can take you to another level.
From an outside point of view looking in, Adam, it appears Mario Cristobal has been worth every penny to this point. From the staff he's assembled to what he's doing on the recruiting trail. Granted, he hasn't officially coached a game yet. That'll come on September 3rd. But has Cristobal been worth every penny?
Oh, I definitely think you ask most people, they definitely say yes. I mean, just because, one, like I said, the excitement around the program, there's a buzz. People are excited for this team. Ticket sales are up. And then the first real thing we see from him is his work on the recruiting trail. And he takes the Hurricanes class, even though he only got hired like a week before the early signing period started, he took a recruiting class that was, I think, in the 50s or 60s nationally, turned it into a top 15 class, secured some big-name guys. And then this 2023 class, the first one that he has a chance to spend some time with, he's reeling off all these big-name recruits. Francis Mauigoa, the five-star offensive lineman, 4-star quarterback Jaden Rashada, 4-star, 5-star borderline defensive lineman Jaden Wayne, just reeling off all these talented recruits. So far, so good. I mean, like you said, he hasn't coached a game yet. And that's kind of the knock rivals will put on him is that, he's not as good at coaching in-game as he is in building a program. But, we will see. I mean, I don't think anyone's upset about the hire right now.
Adam Lichtenstein, South Florida Sun-Sentinel, here with us on 1010XL Radio in Jacksonville. Every time you talk about a Miami coach, you always go back to Schnellenberger, right, in the mid to late 80s, and you want to keep everybody in South Florida. You want to put a line of, your flag, if you will, if you're the Hurricanes, in South Florida and not let anybody get out of there to go to opposing programs. How has Cristobal done in locking down that region when it comes to recruiting?
So far, some hits, some misses. The thing about that, I mean, recruiting is obviously a lot different now than it was in 1983. And you've got, everyone recruits South Florida, Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson, USC. Everyone wants players from South Florida. So it's a little bit harder to put that kind of border up in Orlando and say nobody's coming south and getting guys. Florida, FSU want guys from South Florida. So everyone's coming into your backyard to try to recruit the best players. And Cristobal's got a couple so far. Last year, he landed Nigel Lee Kelly, who's a star out of Fort Lauderdale High School, Dillard High, landed him on the defensive line. This year, he got Nathaniel Joseph, who was previously a Clemson commit. He's a slot receiver. Robbie Washington's a guy from Miami who he's got. There's a few more targets on the board from South Florida. So, so far, some good, some misses. There are some guys from South Florida who they wanted who've committed elsewhere. But, so far, you can't complain just because, like I said, recruiting now is so different than the 80s. It's really, I think it's borderline impossible to just totally have your pick of anyone you want from South Florida just because there are so many guys coming in who want South Florida players.
And, of course, all the talk, Adam, about NIL, you talk about the South Florida area. There's all sorts of rumblings how good the NIL system is for the Hurricanes down there. You got talk of a potential brand new stadium being in the works. A lot of exciting things around this program right now.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's money flowing in. I mean, the administration at UM is pouring money into the program, which that's always been kind of an issue. Like, you ask players who played in the 80s and 90s, they all say, yeah, our locker rooms weren't, up to par, or the weight room wasn't in great shape, but we took pride in that. Or the practice fields were muddy, and stuff like that, and they took pride in playing in that and working out in that. But they're not doing that anymore. They're putting a lot of money into the program. I mean, they just got updated locker rooms that look really nice. There's a review of facilities in the works right now. They'll probably have an upgraded football facility relatively soon. That'll probably be announced, I would assume, in the next 6 months to a year. And there's a lot of money coming in. And then on the NIL side, John Ruiz is like the poster boy for NIL, for good or for bad. I mean, if you're a Miami fan, you love him. And if you're not, then you probably don't like him very much. There was an NCAA kind of inquiry into what he was doing. We obviously don't know all the details of that, but there's a lot of excitement, a lot of buzz, and there's resources now for the football program that weren't there before.
Adam Lichtenstein, South Florida Sun Sentinel, here with us on 1010XL Radio in Jacksonville. Adam, you mentioned Tyler Van Dyke. I'll ask you point blank. How good is he going to be here in the 2022 season?
I expect him to be very good. I mean, we've seen him in practice, and while nobody's perfect, he has looked very good. And something that surprised me is with the history of Hurricanes quarterbacks, Vinny Testaverde, Bernie Kosar, Jim Kelly, Ken Dorsey, all these guys, the record for touchdown passes in a season at Miami is, in air quotes, only 29. Last year, Tyler Van Dyke threw 25, and he wasn't even the starter for the whole year. So, I mean, I think he could have a great year. I mean, the ceiling for him, he could be a Heisman candidate at the end of this year. I'm not going to say that's a definite thing. He's not a definite Heisman finalist, but he has that potential. And, Josh Gaddis is a really good offensive coordinator, won the Broyles Award last year. If they get clicking, he could be putting up big numbers and have an excellent season.
With the schedule, like example, Florida and Florida State, they have a tougher schedule. And I think it's going to be harder for Billy Napier out of the gate than it will be for Mario Cristobal. Having said that, with Miami's schedule comes higher expectations for the Hurricanes. They have what you would call three, cupcake games, if you will, semi-easy games. And then, of course, A&M thrown in there, which will be a very tough game on September 17th. And then you dive into conference play. But, Adam, that schedule, at least on paper right now, doesn't look very daunting or as daunting as, say, a Florida State schedule does right now.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm inclined to agree. You got two really tough road games in A&M in September and Clemson in November. And aside from that, there's no game you can circle and say, that I wouldn't pick Miami in that one. Their toughest games aside from that, you look at maybe an FSU or on the road at Virginia, on the road at Virginia Tech maybe. But their schedule is not, like you said, not that hard. We'll get a good gauge when they go to A&M in week 3. That'll be on the road at Kyle Field in a crazy environment, I'm sure. Primetime game. So we'll see where they're at. That'll be their first big test. I'm personally not super opposed to, having a couple so-called cupcake games to start with, just because there's no preseason. So, we'll see. They'll probably put up big numbers in the first 2 games, and then their first big test comes against A&M.
Adam, are realistic expectations for Hurricane fans? I mean, I'm hearing Hurricane fans up here talking about 10-2, 11-1. I mean, are those realistic in Cristobal's first year?
I think 10-2 is probably scratching the ceiling. Like, that's probably the most realistic great season. But you never know. I think the over-under for this year, I'd put it like 8.5. I think 9 wins is a really good season. Maybe they get tripped up somewhere in ACC play and lose to A&M, lose to Clemson. And like I said, maybe, they play at Virginia and they have a tough time against Brennan Armstrong or something. I think 9-3 is a really good mark. That'd be a really successful season. But I don't think 10-2 is impossible. And, frankly, let's say they go into A&M and Tyler Van Dyke throws 5 touchdown passes and they win, 35-28. That's not impossible either. And, if that happens, then it's all gas, no brakes. And, people start talking about playoffs at that point. But that's getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. I don't think it's impossible, but I think that's a little bit, shooting for the moon.
Final moments here with Adam Lichtenstein, South Florida Sun Sentinel, always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL Radio in Jacksonville. Adam, when you look at the ACC as a whole, it appears on the surface that the Atlantic is probably a little tougher than the Coastal. I mean, NC State believes they might have the best team they've had in Raleigh in 20 years. We'll see about Wake Forest after the Sam Hartman news, but they have a lot of returning guys. Clemson is Clemson. Louisville has Malik Cunningham. And that's all on the opposite side of the conference from where Miami sits. Would you agree that the Coastal, maybe less so than the Atlantic, doesn't appear to be as daunting this year?
Yeah, I would probably agree with that. The Coastal, Miami was picked to win it, and I agree with that. I don't think anyone's going to best them in the Coastal. Pittsburgh lost Kenny Pickett. They lost Jordan Addison. They've still got some, earned, top 20 spots in the coaches and AP poll, but you know what preseason polls mean. So we'll see what happens with them. And then, I'm a little high on Virginia. I think they'll be pretty decent this year. But outside of that, the Coastal doesn't look, super daunting. I think most of the teams that there are to watch for are in the Atlantic, at least. Like you said, with Clemson, with NC State. We'll see what happens with Wake Forest. You see what happens with FSU. I think the Atlantic is probably going to be the more competitive division, but it sets up well for Miami and the Coastal.
Adam, leave us with this. You mentioned ticket sales are up. What can we expect for Miami home games this year? Obviously, the excitement with Cristobal, you talked about, it's definitely there. Will that translate into ticket sales? Will we see larger crowds at Miami home games this year?
I think so. You may not see sellouts for, some of the less hyped home games, but, they play FSU at home this year. That'll be packed. And if they're rolling, Miami is kind of like an event town. If the team is good, people will be there. If the team is not good, then people will find other things to do. But I certainly hope that you'll get some full stadium shots of Hard Rock Stadium this year.
Adam Lichtenstein, South Florida Sun Sentinel. He's our man down in South Florida talking about the Miami Hurricanes. Adam, thank you for the time, buddy. I certainly appreciate it. We'll do it again in about a month and a half. We'll see where Miami stands heading in to that A&M game. Appreciate you, brother.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
1010XL takes you inside the program director's office with Dan and Jeff.
I think you're not suited for this job.
Mornings.
In addition to being incompetent, you threaten my reputation, and not just today.
On 1010XL. Here's your 1010XL First Coast Community Calendar.
To register for Police Athletic League flag football, cheerleading, and boxing, go to jaxpalsports.org.
The National Virtual Career Fair for military spouses, dependents, and veterans is Tuesday, August 16th. Go to recruitmilitarycareerco.com.
The Hometown for Heroes Home Buyers Program helps you get your down payment and closing costs paid. Call to learn more. 574-7180.
Play poker and help families in the Hold'em for Life Texas Hold'em Poker Tournament. Saturday, September 17th at Blessed Trinity Parish Hall. Call 847-778-8824.
City Rescue Mission provides life-changing support for the homeless. Find ways to get involved.
at crmjax.org.
If you're involved in a community event and you'd like us to help spread the word, find out how at 1010XL.com.
Storm season is here, and JEA is doing everything possible to prepare. We've invested millions in hardening our electric, water, and sewer systems to make them more resistant to extreme weather. By updating your contact information and signing up for alerts, you'll also be better prepared if a storm hits. And in the event we need to restore your power, we can keep you up to date on our efforts and get you back to normal sooner. Update your contact info today at JEA.com. JEA, building a more prepared community.
Maximize the beauty of your home with custom-made windows and patio doors from Renewal by Andersen. Right now, buy 4 windows or patio doors and get the 5th free. Plus, no money down, no payments, and no interest for 12 months. Visit rbafla.com for details. Offer expires August 31st. Restrictions apply. Renewal by Andersen, the official window and door replacement company of the Jacksonville Jaguars. License CGC 1527613.
Hey Jags fans, Brian Sexton for Dreamfinders Homes. In a complex housing market, do decisions on the biggest purchase of your life stress you out? At Dreamfinders Homes, they can build the home of your dreams in one of their many communities in Northeast Florida. With a mortgage company in-house, they're here to assist you throughout the entire process. Choose from their wide range of single-family homes or townhomes from the 300,000s. Dreamfinders Homes specializes in homes built to fit your lifestyle. Call 904-590-2545 or visit dreamfindershomes.com.
1 in 5 of us is bullied. 1 in 3 of us is overweight or obese. 1 in 5 of us will experience mental distress before we even turn 17. Adults, we need you. You're the #1 influence in my life. If you're more involved with my health and education, I'm more likely to make healthier choices, have greater self-esteem, and do better in school. Be my action hero.
Learn how you can take action at actionforhealthykids.org.
Hey folks, Mike Dempsey here, and right now is the time to ramp up your drafting for fantasy football season. I always use Underdog Fantasy to draft now because there's no in-season management. Of course, I do it to try and win the $10 million in prizes too, but it organically prepares me for my local season-long drafts as well. So sign up now, head to UnderdogFantasy.com or the App Store, and when you do sign up, use promo code 1010XL. Underdog will match your first deposit up to $100. Underdog Fantasy, don't forget to sign up with promo code 1010XL.
Kick off this fall on the links at Junior Achievement's annual Golf Classic at San Jose Golf and Country Club. For more than 11 years, the funds raised support JA's efforts to help inspire and prepare our youth to succeed in a global economy. All participants enjoy on-the-green breakfast, lunch, drinks, post-play reception, awards, contests, prizes, and much more. To play or sponsor, contact Stephanie Saman at janfl.org or call 398-9944, extension 231.
Homeowners, hurricane season can be a disaster, but I had Ken Lawler and his team at Fifth Element adjusting to help me get my roof replaced through my property insurance. Ken, how does this work?
Well, Jeff, if you have a denied or underpaid claim, an aging roof, or maybe received a non-renewal letter from your insurance carrier, call us. All this is free if we do not recover any money for your insurance claim. Call Fifth Element Adjusting or visit FEAclaims.com. If you're happy with the outcome of your claim, Fifth Element Adjusting will not be able to help you. Ken Lawler, DFS number P213199.
You saved my life. You held my hand when I was scared. You helped me say goodbye to my dad. You were an example for me. You gave me strength when I thought I had none left. I couldn't tell you then, but I want to say thank you, all of you, for everything. Thank you to the physicians, nurses, and others working in America's hospitals and health systems. A message from the American Hospital Association, American Medical Association, and American Nurses Association.
This is your Mad Dad's Update with Chapter President Donald Ford.
We are off the chain again. We had 5 shootings, 2 killed in a matter of hours. It was not just the north side. It was all over. Mayport, south side, west side, north side. Let you know it's not just one part of town. We know they have a sheriff race coming up. We cannot get caught up on that. We as a community have got to say, enough is enough. We've got to take a stand and start breaking the code of silence and tell what we know. As always, JSO was not there when the 5 shootings occurred. Hit me on Facebook and tell me what you think.
For information about Mad Dads, go to Mad Dads Jacksonville chapter Facebook or MadDadsJacksonville.com.
When it comes to hunting and fishing,
that's some pretty fancy shooting down there.
They live the life.
Look at this beast.
Jeff Lageman, Captain Kevin Favor, and Captain Kirk Waltz on the Nimnik Chevrolet Outdoor Show. Saturday morning from 7 to 10 on 1010XL. WJXL AM, WJXL FM, Jacksonville Beach. 1010XL. 10XL. This 1010XL 92.5 FM hour is powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 904-600-4000. That's 904-600-4000. It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL. Now, another interview on the Farah and Farah phone line, brought to you by the accident attorneys at Farah and Farah.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville, we are glad you are with us. The Jaguars host the Pittsburgh Steelers Saturday night here at TIAA Bank Field. It'll be the third preseason game for Jacksonville. Expect the starters to play in to the second quarter. What have we seen so far in training camp and in the first two Jaguar preseason games? With that, let's go to my friend Zig Fracassi. You hear him on Sirius XM NFL Radio, and he's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Zig, it was cool seeing you up in Canton, man. How are you?
Hacker, it is great seeing you and Big Sears and Frangie and all the crew there from 1010, so it was a pleasure of mine as well.
Well, by the way, and we've talked a lot about it. It was my first time, Zig, at that enshrinement ceremony. That's a bucket list item for any Jaguar fan that did not go, or just football fan. Whether it's any NFL fan owes it to themselves to go up for that weekend. That was some of the most fun I've had in quite some time.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it was big in Jacksonville with Tony becoming the first ever Jag to go in, so there was that element to it. And excuse me, if you're a historian, Ryan, like I am, who appreciates the National Football League, and also let's also acknowledge the other leagues that have played, the AAFC when the NFL even was born in 1920, the American Football League. In other words, that's why it's called the Pro Football Hall of Fame. It's how the league got everything going. It incorporated the other leagues and all that kind of thing. So if you are a pure historian, and to see the exhibits, to see the busts, just to get a good education of how this became from the Decatur Staleys and the Canton Bulldogs to now the billion-dollar industry that it is, it's really a great time capsule. I highly recommend it, too.
Zig, final thought on the Hall of Fame. And when we were up there for Tony, and it was so much fun. But he mentioned it in his speech, and now, the people are beginning to shift their focus, down here at least, on Fred Taylor. Fred Taylor's been a semifinalist for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He's never cracked the top 15, which would be the finalists. He's got to get into that before the conversation really heats up. But Zig, no one in the NFL that has rushed for more yardage than Fred Taylor is not in the Hall of Fame that's eligible. And, of course, Frank Gore and Adrian Peterson will get in when they are eligible. Fred is going to be the first on that list that's not in on the rushing list. Do you think there's an argument for Fred Taylor in Canton?
Boy, you look at the numbers, and what is there, I believe 6-7 years of at least 1,000-yard seasons. The touchdowns actually had double digits, two of his first 3 years, and he actually led the league back in 2000 with rushing. So some of those numbers are there, but then it becomes, I think, one of these things, Ryan, where one, you got to look at the backs that played during that time. Who were the other ones that maybe had a bigger impact, if any, on there? And obviously with the Jags, after that, nice run they had there, late 90s, early 2000s, they hit a lull. They kind of rebounded a little bit, but Fred was pretty much a player that I thought was on a little bit of a decline. So as good as his stats were, again, this is just one man speaking, and the era that it was, quite frankly, I'm probably going to find it a little hard for him to get in, where Baselli, you know, he had a limited body of work, but when he was in there, he was just so good. So, you know, sometimes that's been used as an exception. Gale Sayers and Terrell Davis are guys that have a limited body of works, but at the same time, they were so good in the time he was in there. So that's probably the mantra they use with Baselli. Fred Taylor, I'm afraid to say, is probably a bit of a harder sell, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. He's got to break in to that finalist list. Got to get to the 15.
Absolutely.
And if he gets there, the conversation then will really begin. Zig Fracassi, Sirius XM, NFL Radio. Zig, the Jaguars 2 preseason games in. Just a brief thought from you. Again, we haven't seen a lot of Trevor Lawrence, but certainly last week against Cleveland, 6 of 12, 95 yards, that touchdown to Evan Ingram. I guess maybe the star has been Zay Jones. You know, all the talk about Christian Kirk, he has been hurt the first 2 games, and Zay Jones has really come in and made a nice little impact.
Yeah, I mean, here's a guy who's probably bounced around a little bit. He's one of those that this might be the proverbial last stop for him. So I think there's a possibility there of him succeeding. I was just reading a little couple things here about the Jags. Apparently their practices were very sloppy within the past week. So, you know, that's a little bit of a concern, because now you want to be tuning up to, be better in terms of getting ready for the regular season. Then I saw the former defensive tackle, Brown, who had been the starter, he was let go. Apparently fell to 3rd in the depth chart. So the Jags, saving a little bit of money there. So that kind of caught my eye a little bit too. So those are some of the things that stick out with the Jags when I look at them.
Yeah, Malcolm Brown released yesterday, an 8-year veteran. Kind of a surprising move, but I think the rationale is there's guys underneath him, younger guys, that they want to see get more playing time, and that was a casualty, if you will, for Malcolm Brown. Zig Fracassi, Sirius XM, NFL. Zig, we've seen 2 games of Trayvon Walker, both in the Hall of Fame game and last week against Cleveland. In both games, he's made impactful plays. A sack against the Raiders, helped force a fumble against Cleveland. Again, Zig, it's a small sample size, but boy, Trayvon Walker in limited work has done very well.
That's why you get excited if you're a fan. That, a kid that, by the way, has so much freakish ability. I mean, for goodness sakes, he could probably play defensive back and probably be able to cover a certain amount of guys. I mean, he's just got that kind of freakish ability. That's why players like that don't come along very well. And obviously from a winning program, too. So what you're hoping there is, at some point he's going to make an impact in the lineup. And I'm sure that, the defensive coordinator and that probably figured out how to use him the best of his abilities. So I'm very excited to see that young man, because, again, his freakish ability, and you got the championship pedigree there. He can make, to me, an immediate impact on that Jacksonville defense.
Zig, it's interesting. Trent Baalke was obliterated by this fan base when he was retained by Shad Khan. I mean, they were dressing up as clowns, Zig, in the final game of the regular season last year. And yet I look at what he's done in the draft last year, right? Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne, Tyson Campbell, Walker Little, Andre Sisco, even a guy like Jay Tufele, who they cut Malcolm Brown yesterday because apparently they like Tufele. You go to this year's draft with Walker and Lloyd. Fortner's going to be an opening day starter. Chad Muma, Snoop Connor, the free agents they've brought in. Boy, it's got to translate onto the field. I get it. But on paper, I think Baalke's done a pretty good job the last 2 off seasons rebuilding this roster.
And I think it becomes emblematic, Ryan, in terms of, at times the negative media cycle that there is. So everything went to hell in a handbasket last year with the Jags. And we all know the urban distraction was what it was. And, I think in some ways Trent Baalke is going to be in sort of the guilt by association. In other words, well, if the coach stinks, the GM does too. But, you just outlined some of the guys that they brought in terms of draft and free agency. Alex Marvez, a regular friend of ours and, of course, co-host with me on SiriusXM NFL Radio, we discussed the team that we thought that maybe would take maybe not the quantum leap, but to be most improved heading into 2022. And he sided with the Jaguars because of all the guys that they brought in. I mean, again, on paper, it certainly looks good. So I think from that standpoint, you cleared out the Urban situation. You got a new coach in there now. Maybe people who follow this game a little closely and a little more on the sort of sober side and not getting their hearts involved with all this. I agree. I like what they've done with this roster. Do I think they win the AFC South? No, but do I think they'll be markedly improved and, better than the 2-3 wins that they had last year? Definitely so.
Yeah, look, it's not going to be hard for the roster to be better. I'm not breaking any news there. They've won 4 games in the last 2 years, all right? So we know they're better. The question is how much better. I'm of the probably 7-win variety. And Zig, if I'm right, if they get to 7-10, in most markets that would not be anything to celebrate. My gosh, 7-10 in Jacksonville, Zig, we might be throwing a parade. They would almost double their win total from the last 2 years combined.
Well, a criteria that I always use is for a team that's been bad is what do you realistically look at? You and I have been in this business long enough. It can happen where a team goes from last to first. I get that, but in most cases, you have to be realistic about it. And the criteria that I find sort of safe to use is, all right, so say if the Jags had 3 wins last year or 2, whatever the case, whatever team it might be, what would you look at as improvement? I would say if you double the win total and you're competitive in most, if not all, the losses, then you're taking that next step forward. So to me, I'm with you. I don't know if I'd throw a parade at 7-10, but I get what you're saying there, and I think that would be a quantum leap. And if those 10 losses, maybe 6 or 7 of them by a touchdown or less, then you're headed in the right direction.
Final moments here with Zig Fracassi of SiriusXM NFL Radio. Zig, certainly the big story this week, the ruling about Deshaun Watson. 11 games is where they landed, a $5 million fine. When Deshaun Watson came out on Thursday and said he stands on his innocence, social media blew up. There appears to be a lot of backlash about the way this was handled, a lot of backlash towards the Cleveland Browns, and even some backlash towards the National Football League. Zig, what's your thought on this mess?
Boy, we could probably do an hour just on this. I thought it was a little light. I thought he would get at least a year and maybe double the fine, $10 million. Instead, it was $5 million. But again, I think they went through the process of getting this negotiated. So let's not forget, the original suspension was 6 games. So in effect, it was doubled. And you listen to some of the comments made by the Haslam family and all that. I think there's a lot of spin control going on. Look, and the thing that kind of got me going here, Ryan, was the fact that, Deshaun sort of maintained his innocence, yet if you're settling these matters, you can infer what you want into that in terms of, well, is he actually guilty? But again, I'll let people smarter than me make the decision. So now this is in effect basically almost 2 years now that Deshaun Watson hasn't played in the National Football League. So from the on-the-field standpoint, where do the Browns go? Do they maintain that Brissett's going to be their guy? Or the hot talk is, do they make a call to San Francisco, try to get Jimmy Garoppolo on board? It'll be interesting to see what happens there. But again, you need to be held accountable for your actions. And if you express remorse and contrition, and if the young man maybe had said, hey, look, maybe I got an issue here that I need to resolve. I'm actually a good guy, but maybe I did some things wrong. That's where I think people would probably have a little more empathy and sympathy towards him. So if he's changed and if he is this good guy that maybe has an issue, and if that issue can be resolved, because part of the suspension, Ryan, is he has to have mandatory treatment and evaluation. So if he's changed from that, I think we are a forgiving society, but until then, there's always going to be a lot of questions regarding it.
One of the criticisms I think that is pretty fair, 11 games seems odd. The 12th game Cleveland plays is against Houston. So is the NFL publicizing this to make that a big deal, that Watson's coming back against his former team there for the 12th game of the year? That's odd, I guess. And you don't really see an 11-game suspension very often. Zig Fracassi of SiriusXM NFL Radio. Zig, as always, my friend, thank you. The next time you and I talk, the regular season will be underway. I cannot wait for it. Let's maybe hook up the week of the Jacksonville-Washington opener, and we'll see what your thoughts are on Jacksonville going into that matchup.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. And, of course, I have to slip in maybe a little lightning talk, too, at that time.
No question. I know you're an NHL guy, and hockey is right around the corner. Oh, there you go, my friend Zig Fracassi. Really enjoy the conversation with Zig. SiriusXM NFL Radio is where you get him. I always think he gives the good national perspective of the Jacksonville Jaguars as we enter here the 2022 NFL season. Boy, that'll just about wrap it up for what has been a very, very busy Friday night edition of Hacker After Dark. We have a ton of people to thank. Again, Zig Fracassi of SiriusXM NFL Radio. How about my man Deontay Lee of The Athletic? Really enjoyed talking Jags with Deontay Lee. You got Adam Lichtenstein of the South Florida Sun Sentinel as the Miami Hurricanes have a scrimmage tomorrow. They are 2 weeks away from Mario Cristobal and his first year on the job down there in South Florida with Miami. And Ray Fittipaldo of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette joined us to give us the Steelers side of the Steelers and the Jaguars. Of course, that game can be heard right here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM tomorrow. Kickoff is at 7. Pre-game coverage will begin around 4 o'clock. Keep in mind, last Friday's show for Hacker After Dark for a while. The reason why? Next Friday starts year 16 of the Friday Night Lights postgame show. I will be on alongside Andrew Gibson and Dylan Denmark. And for the next 13 Fridays, we will bring you high school postgame coverage like you've come to expect from 1010XL for the last decade and a half. Very excited to embark on year 16 of the Friday Night Lights postgame 1 week from tonight. We will be back on Hacker After Dark next Monday to certainly review what goes on tomorrow night between the Jaguars and the Steelers. Dylan Denmark was your producer tonight. Dylan, great job as always. I'm the Hacker Ryan Green in Jacksonville. Thank you for spending part of your Friday evening with us right here on Hacker After Dark on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. So for all of us on HAD, have an absolutely terrific remainder of your Friday evening. Enjoy the ball game tomorrow between the Jaguars and the Steelers. And we'll be back Monday night at 8 o'clock here on Hacker After Dark, and we will do it all over again. Until then, good night, Jacksonville, and have an absolutely terrific weekend, everybody.
They say every town has a story.
Here's the deal.
Jags on 3.
It's black and teal.
1, 2, 3, Jags!
1010XL.
So I'm here with Danny Van Sickle, director of the Electrical Training Alliance. Danny, tell me about your program.
Hey, Rick, we're a 5-year electrical apprenticeship. Our students start out making over $30,000 a year, and right now graduate making over $80,000 a year, including benefits. There is no tuition and no student debt. You just have to apply and get accepted.
Did you say no tuition and no student debt?
You heard that right, Rick. Once you're accepted into the program, your only costs are the books and the course fees, around $700 a year.
Wow, that sounds like an amazing opportunity. How can I learn more?
Just go to etajax.org and you can apply there.
There's still time to purchase your tickets for the Summer Nights presented by 1-2-1 Financial. Enjoy an evening affair benefiting Boys and Girls Club of Northeast Florida as you enjoy delicious foods from local restaurants like Orsay, craft cocktails, fine wine, and craft beer while dancing to live music from the Bold City Classics. Summer Nights will be held Saturday, August 27th at the Glass Factory. Purchase your tickets at tinyurl.com/1010 Summer Nights.
In the wee hours of the night, when everyone else is fast asleep, you're the one on third shift, burning the midnight oil. When a part fails and everything comes to a grinding halt, regardless of what the clock on the wall says, you leap into action. Grainger is with you and all the ones who get it done. With 24/7 customer support by phone or click to chat. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
I taught for 20 years, until I started forgetting my lectures.
Eventually, he had to quit. Getting his early Alzheimer's diagnosis was hard, but it gave us time to take control of the situation together.
I can't imagine going through this without him.
If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together. For more information, visit alz.org/time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Hello, Jacksonville. This is Greg McGarity, President and CEO of Gator Bowl Sports. The TaxSlayer Gator Bowl game and events have been a Jacksonville staple for more than 75 years. We support more than 4,200 local youth annually through Gator Bowl charities.